Good morning. Welcome to KHG Blast. Good to have you with us again this morning. It's Thursday, the 23rd, I think it is, of July, here in Johannesburg. Is it Thursday? Yeah, 22nd of July. Sorry, I've got my dates mixed up. Thursday, 22nd of July. Anyway, it's the coldest day of the year so far here in Johannesburg. Cold for us, maybe not for others. And the irony of it all is there's bright sunshine outside. Anyway, that's Joburg for you. Clear, pale blue skies and ice cold. Anyway, good to be with you again today here at KHG Blast. I want to just briefly talk about morality today. The morality guidelines that we have or don't have or should have or whatever you think. And let me give you what I think. Now, for us to have some sort of moral guideline in our lives, you've got to base that guideline on something. It's got to be a constant. It's got to be something that's basically not going to change. I don't think you can relate this exactly to morality, but my mom taught me that two wrongs don't make a right. So what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. And you can't make something right by doing something wrong. And you're not doing something wrong by making something right. So you need to have that steadiness, that guideline in life that will tell you what's wrong and what's right and how to kind of conduct yourself towards other people. We have the great golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Which is found in most of the major religions of the world. And that's a good guideline. Now, I'm a Christian, so I have my moral guideline, and I suppose our moral guideline is to be found in the Ten Commandments of the Old Testament, which are found in Exodus chapter 20. And it's not to save us, but it's a guideline for us on how to behave and which moral norms for us to follow. And moral norms in a society will bring order to that society. If those moral norms are good norms and fixed norms, for the most part, that society will have order in it. People will know how to behave, and people will know that there are consequences for certain things and reward for other things, and be in a safe place, really. And in a society where that is true, people kind of get along with each other, and things happen for them that should happen. Let me just read the Ten Commandments to you. You have from Exodus 2 and Exodus 20 rather, from verse 2, and this is from the New English Translation. It's quite a long passage here, but let me just read it to you. And it says this: "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on earth beneath, or that is in the water below. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, responding to the transgression of fathers by dealing with children to the third and fourth generations of those who reject me, and showing covenant faithfulness to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold guiltless anyone who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath." Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart as holy. For 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant, or your cattle or the resident foreigner who is in your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Honor your father and your mother, that you may live a long time in the land the Lord your God is giving to you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your neighbor. And those are the 10 Commandments. And now, none of us can live with the claim that we actually keep all 10 all the time perfectly. No, we don't. But this is a guideline. And if we want to really, as Christians, we want to make this a New Testament thing, then we go and find it in the New Testament. And we go to Matthew chapter 22. We read this in from verse 37 through to about verse 40. Verse 36, sorry. And it says in verse 36, Teacher, talking to Jesus, that is, which commandment in the law is the greatest? Jesus said to him, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these 2 commandments. All right, so there we go. We've got those commandments. So there we have a moral norm by which we can live, by which we make our laws. Don't commit murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't give false testimony, don't lie, don't desire or covet the things that your neighbor has got. What's yours is yours, and be happy with what you've got. So, and then we transpose that into the New Testament thinking, which is love the Lord your God with everything you've got, your heart, your thinking, your mind, your actions, your deeds, whatever it is. You love the Lord your God with everything. And then you love your neighbor as yourself. And when you love your neighbor as yourself, that's the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. The golden rule fits in there. So we need this moral code for us to survive, for our communities and our societies to actually survive and live, not just to survive, but to have order in our communities so that the people will live knowing what their bounds are in relationship to others, to their wives, to their children, to their neighbors, to the general community and to societies and to other nations. It even mentions foreigners here in the 10 Commandments. And those who work for you and your own employers, everything is controlled by the love of God. Love your Lord your God with everything you've got, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So we absolutely need those moral guides. And once we start departing from that moral guide, where do we stop? Where do we draw a line then? Where do we draw a line? If I can just go back to the 10 Commandments over here. It says, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal. Those 3 basic ones. And the fourth one, the next one there. You shall not give false testimony against them or lie about somebody else. All right? Just those 4. If you take one of them away, you shall not commit adultery. Okay? Now, it's a free-for-all. You can do what you like with anybody's wife. Or if you're a woman, with anybody's husband. And it leads to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And eventually the world is in chaos and society itself will collapse. There's no doubt about it. That civilization where those things are not honored, it will collapse. Imagine if there's no command, there's nothing like thou shalt not commit murder, thou shalt not murder. Then it's a free-for-all. I can kill anybody I like. Yeah, it's not right. That's just fine. Yeah, it's where do I draw the line? And all of these laws that I've just read out here are all equal. There's no differentiation and say, well, you can actually leave out number 3, number 2, leave out number 7, and never mind about that one over there. No, they all are equally important that we keep them for order in our society. We need this moral code. We need this type of morality in society. If we don't have it's havoc and chaos in our society. These things, loving the Lord your God, the golden rule, brings respect one for another. That's when we respect one another. We respect other people's property. This last one over here, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his servant, or his male or female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. Okay, now, if we look at our own nation, the last week or so ago, there's this massive looting going on. Now, that's pure covet. That's lawlessness, in other words. What you can't take, thou shalt not steal. Okay, there's another one that applies. You may not steal. You cannot take what does not belong to you. And let me tell you, in my own heart, poverty does not make you lawless. Poverty does not change your moral character. Poor people aren't without morals, aren't people who lack morality. They just lack money. All right, that's it. And we had the incident there in our papers as well, where they showed a CEO of a very wealthy company looting. So we see it's a matter of morality. It's not a matter even of not having any or of being poor. It's a matter of lawlessness that brings about this stuff. People who have no regard for the law of God himself. So I want to encourage you that when we look at the Ten Commandments and we look at the commandments, the greatest commandments, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself, when we look at that, those are our guidelines for our behavior and how we ought to behave in life. They don't bring us salvation. No, Christ brings us salvation through his grace, through his mercy. By grace we are saved through faith in Christ. All right. So that's our salvation is by faith and through grace. It's not keeping the commandments. It's nothing to do with our salvation. It's to do with order in our society. It's to do with living a life that is actually productive in our societies. Practicing and keeping these norms before us as a way by which we can live, a way by which we can respect those around us, a way by which we can uplift others and respect the rights of others, as it were. And if we keep this lot, if we follow the norms that are laid down here, then we will see that our society runs in an orderly fashion. Because all sorts of people do all sorts of stuff, and when you start breaking the law, especially deliberately, it's because you're lawless. Nothing to do with your station in life, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're black, or whether you're white, or whether you are pink or green, or whatever it is. If you don't keep the law of the Lord, you are lawless, and that applies to anybody and everybody. That's the way it should be. We have these laws, and these laws are what our nation's laws are based on. I've heard that in the Supreme Court of the United States of America, they've got a big placard up there as you go in somewhere with the Ten Commandments written on there, and it's a good set of rules to follow. It's a very good set of rules to practice in one's life. In order to bring order into not just society but even into our own lives, where we have our own boundaries. We set boundaries for our children, and we have these boundaries set for us in order that there might be order in our lives, that good things might happen in our lives, and we don't just live in a life of chaos and anarchy and havoc everywhere. No, but that we respect one another. This is what human rights are actually all about. It's when we respect each other in the ways I've just highlighted here, through the law of God, through loving our neighbors ourselves and loving the Lord our God with everything that we've got. Our hearts, our minds, our strength, our actions, our doings, everything else. So, let us, to the best of our ability, live a life that is orderly, a life that brings honor to God. Because even if you're not, any human can bring honor to God in the way that he lives. And I'm just talking about salvation is, like I said, salvation is by grace. There's nothing we can do to earn our salvation. But we can live in the way God wants us to live because we are created in his image. I mean, the way that we live, of course there'll be faults and we all have flaws and everything. Of course we do. But we are also created in the image of God. And we are called upon to love our neighbors and to love God with everything that we have. And obviously, if we have God's Spirit living in us, it just makes it that much easier for us to do that. And also it makes it a joy to do that. It's a pleasure to be able to live in that way where we do the things that God desires us to do. So God bless you. Stay well. Have a blast this week. And we keep on praying for those in the vulnerable areas of our nation in South Africa, that the peace that has come there will remain, and that you will be blessed over there. And we also pray for the rest of our nation, that God's peace may be our portion. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you soon. God bless. Have a blast.